We are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Today we're going to talk about a topic that Vince came up with. And Vince, what are we discussing today, sir?
Today we're discussing the issue of why are things from the past perceived as better than things from modern day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about nostalgia. You know, that's one of my favorite things to talk about, Vince.
Which, I mean, let's be realistic, not everybody thinks this, but often you'll say...
Certainly not, yeah.
There are people that develop, like, maybe, let's say, unhealthy interests for particular decades. Like, I've heard people say movies from the 80s are just so much better. Sure, it's not true, but sure.
This, let me start here, Vince. Every time this topic in question comes up, I think of the line in Watchmen of the past feels so much brighter, even the grimy parts of it.
That's a good. That's a good line.
And that implies, and I think when he wrote it, Alan Moore was onto something. That implies that this is that this is a human nature thing. This is a thing that people just simply experience. Not everyone necessarily, but that a lot of people tend to experience, like biologically. Like the older you get, the more you miss things from the way things used to be. And as I'm always saying, we are different people all the time. We are constantly changing. I'm not exactly the same person I am now as I was even 5 minutes ago, in a way, to certain degrees. And so, but sometimes I don't think it has even as much to do with what it is that we're missing as just simply getting older. Mm-hmm. You know, I wonder, and I'm just kind of fishing around right now, but I wonder if that's not a lot of it. If we fill in the gaps, because memory is so finicky, right? We fill in the gaps and we think of the past as better, and we think that it's because of what was in the past exactly, but what it really is, maybe, and maybe this is subconscious and we don't think about it like this a lot, is simply we're resisting getting closer to the end of our lifespan.
That's an interesting thought. You know, I do think you're onto something here. I do think that it depends on who you were when you consumed the things that you consumed, and it kind of taints how you watch them today. And like, for example, people say, man, they just...
Oh, and we're talking just strictly pop culture stuff right now. Yeah, okay,
much.
Sure.
But people say things like, they don't make them like they used to. And
which is accurate for most things, yes.
The thing, that's fair. I mean, which, that's not necessarily to say, I mean, the implication is that they don't make them as good as they used to.
As well as they used to be.
And,
yeah.
Indeed. And English, I'm pretty good. That's
honestly, I was not even correcting you when I said it. I thought we were going to say the same thing at the same time. Sorry, go ahead.
I just get so used to it. Anyway, but...
that was good. That was well.
It's a deep subject. The thing that people often say that to me about are cartoons from the childhood. And things like, man, they don't make them like they used to when they were making Ninja Turtles and Thundercats and G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Right.
And then I'll counter that argument and say, I don't know, have you gone back to watch that recently? And personally, I don't get particularly nostalgic. And... I don't know what it is.
And I do, which is why it's fun to do these kind of topics with you, because we come at them from different places.
Maybe I'm a realist at heart. I don't know. But when I go back and I watch things from my childhood that I say, that was so good, that was really, you got to see this. And then I watch it and I go, oh, that was awful. Why did I ever like that? I can't watch Thundercats now. I can't watch the original Turtles now. Frankly, I can't watch the current Turtles either. But that... For me, the heyday of cartoons is really probably about 5 to 10 years ago.
I can't agree with that. I think, and again, some of this is perspective. Some of it is when you grew up. But as far as things I can go back to and they completely hold up, tend to be mid-90s stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You know, and we've talked about this before, but like you look at the Warner stuff in the mid-90s, and like Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, that stuff all holds up.
Batman.
Yeah. So no, not 5 or 10 years ago. I think that's when a lot of stuff was going downhill. Although there is a lot of good stuff from right then, especially in the superhero place. I feel like we had so many shows that got canceled in a couple of years, you know.
And I think the reason I came up with this, and maybe I've completely jumped ship from what you initially said. But
no, that's totally cool. It was your topic, and I probably started it in the wrong place.
Oh, whatever. I feel like I missed the point of something you said, but the reason I thought this was that I've had so many people say that to me that they were so much better then was because, or I feel like it's because the cream rises to the top and we forget how much crap came out around the good stuff.
Yeah, the answer to this for me is, and this is a cop-out thing, but I'll explain it, is it's complicated. The difficulty is that it's sometimes true. Mm-hmm. You know, so like Penn and Teller, when they were doing the BS show, did a show on this. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Oh, such a great show.
But
I don't know if I saw the one you're talking about.
But they did an episode called The Good Old Days, and now the good old days is BS, and that and that, you know, we look back on earlier times, especially in our own lives, or before, like our grandparents tell us about the time they lived in, and when we're trying to get back to that or something, and we look at them through this like nostalgic lens, especially if we weren't there to really know, and it's like it's kind of that fuzzy footage, black and white thing of like, you know, everything was peaceful, everything was simple, there was no crime, there was no complication. Not true. You go back to the 50s and there's bad things that were going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, you had race riots and things. That's not good, you know?
There's just more control of the media that changes how you view the decade.
Yeah, exactly. And I think some of it is, yes, what you have to go on, and I think some of it is how we choose to perceive things. You know, we're ignorant and we like it. You know, we're ignorant and we like being ignorant. On the other hand, there are some things, there are plenty of things that were better in the past, you know, and so both of these things end up being true. And again, I think what you have to look at is the motivation of why people are trying so hard to like recreate the past and think about the past. What I'm saying is, it's just simply complex. You got to be objective about it. You got to look at what's going on now that is great and accept it.
You know,
I think, and then also look at the things that aren't as good, and you know, kind of pick and choose.
If you think about the 50s, like you just mentioned, I think that's a great decade to look at for a second, because there are shows that rose to the top, risen to the top. English. So you look at the Honeymooners, and that's such an atypical show for the time, because we look at things like Leave It to Beaver, we look at things like Ozzie and Harriet, and they're just such the representation of how we view that decade. You know, the post-war affluence, and then people, there's more money influx into the country, and we get that suburban idea of what America was at the time. But then you look at the Honeymooners, and you see a more accurate portrayal of the common man. And then you look at the Untouchables, that's bringing us back to the idea that there is crime out there, that there are things that we need to be aware of. And granted, it was set earlier than the 50s. It was just a show from the 50s. So it's interesting to me how media can kind of taint how we see a particular decade.
It also taints how we see our own.
Yeah.
And in the 50s, especially, it's important to note that part of the reason that shows like Leave It to Beaver and things like that happened were it was very in vogue to try to create this perfect kind of family dynamic that didn't really exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what skews our perceptions of the past are the things that were obscuring our perceptions of the present.
Mm. That's that's fantastic. You know, and that's another thing that I feel like people, just because it was an originated something, whatever it happens to be, book, novel, poetry, blah, blah. I just said book and novel at the same time. Movie, novel, whatever it is. People go back and say, well, that was the first person to do it. Obviously, that's significant. Historically, yes. But in the way of, is it good? Not necessarily.
Also, sometimes if you don't go back far enough, you don't realize how derivative an original work is.
Mm-hmm.
And also, deriving things is important. Building on things is important. And I think this is a thing that we should talk about here, is that it's sometimes a fine line between
love and nausea.
That's true. That's true. That's a different topic, maybe. It's
Please, go ahead.
sometimes a fine line between. You want to throw in another one?
No, I'm
okay. Evolution and degeneration.
Yeah.
Where and sometimes it's a matter of opinion, sure, but where things change, and it's up to sometimes it's up to people, sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's like I feel like it's fair, and if you don't agree with this, that's fine. This is my opinion. I feel like it's fair to say that language on the whole degenerating before it's evolving right now. At least when there's I don't know, like sometimes we change it in good ways, but when nobody knows how to what like the proper ways of writing are and what the fundamentals are and stuff, I think that and when it's popular to say things, and I'm hearing this now where it's becoming more and more popular to say things like, well, I know one word that means that, why do I need synonyms for it? I'm like, oh, that seems like a degeneration to me, so that seems like a thing I can say, we did that better before, you know what I mean? But certain things, and again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but it for me it is still kind of about what's your incentive? Why are you so worried about the past? Let's try to bring some personal examples, Vince. Can you think of anything? Because I can think of plenty. Can you think of anything that you think we did better earlier in your life than we do now, that you think is actually an objective thing and not just simply an, oh, I missed that, I wish I could get back to that time period thing?
I do feel like there is a sense of comedic timing that has been progressively lost throughout the years. And I don't necessarily...
Is that an overall lack of subtlety entertainment?
Yes, that's precisely it. And I feel like that subtlety has been replaced by awkwardness. And I feel like that awkwardness is very... I don't want to say that there's no comedic timing, because I do like Steve Carell, but I don't like The Office. Because one of the reasons is that The Office might be the best at this awkward comedy, because it does have some cleverness in it. But it has permeated the culture and made people think that just standing around being uncomfortable with another person is funny in and of itself. And that drives me.
So you think we're kind of changing the definition?
Yeah, I feel like we're completely changing what comedy is, and I think it needs to be cleverer.
And see, I think that's indicative of a larger problem in maybe the subtlety thing, of a larger problem in general, which is lack of variety. And I mean, I know I talk about that a lot, but like I don't know, that can be funny, but why should that be the only thing? You know, and it's the same thing with like gross out humor. You know what I mean? Like if people think it's funny, okay, but have something for everybody. And I feel like if what we do, this is a different topic maybe, but I feel like if what we're doing is, well, it's not too different, because this is, I agree with you, I think definitely a thing that is not just, oh, it's not like it was when we were kids, so it's bad.
Mm-hmm. Which I mean,
and I think that's what we're talking about is like, but I feel like the only way to do this is to go case by case, because there are some things where people say, oh, this is we used to do this better, and I think that it really is just because they long for the way it was when they were kids, not that it actually is better. You know what I mean?
Which I mean, I think it kind of depends on what's mainstream and what's not. Like you can go all the way back to the inception of movies, and they have these silly comedies that are strange and don't make a heck of a lot of sense, and then you can go.
But there were other
things
now happening at the time. Yeah. Well, it just depends on what we're talking about, I guess. But yeah.
So, and there are some very clever comedies, and I feel like you go back to Buster Keaton, and then you have kind of the heyday of the clever like jab and switch and move, and I don't mean like literal boxing. I mean they have a punchline. There's a setup and there's a punchline.
But you said boxing and then you said punchline, which is kind of funny.
See, there's a relevance there.
But I feel like what Hollywood sometimes does now is it looks for the least common denominator.
Yes, precisely.
Looks for kind of cut out the middleman and just say okay, instead of trying to make things for everyone, why don't we turn everyone into the same person?
Yeah.
In a way, I don't mean like giant conspiracy or anything. I just mean that, like, if we can condition people with what we're putting out to think that this particular thing is funny, then we just make everything like that. And
my wife was watching a show with me in the room the other day, and this woman character is sitting at a desk, and this man character comes up and says, "You have to see this." And she said, "Now, do I really have to see this, or is this one of those things that men think is really funny and women just find gross?" And I thought, that's a really interesting thing to say, because I'm kind of on the woman's side there. Because often I don't think what's gross is funny.
Me too, and I think that's kind of sad that that's the, well, I don't want to say the stereotype now. I think that's been the stereotype. You know, you go back to like Tim Allen, and that was the stereotype, right? But so you know, this hasn't changed in our lifetime. But but just you know, men find crude things funny because they're not wired to be intellectual enough to find clever funny. That seems to sometimes be the stereotype. That's why the intelligent woman with the idiot husband is a thing in comedy.
Yeah, which I think
and commercials.
I think the originator of that would be The Simpsons, which is why that's so significant. But you know, The Simpsons is good. It's a good show. And
yeah.
Well, I can't say that across the board it is.
But I'm with you. But I guess I don't know. I think you can poke fun at a stereotype without perpetuating it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that show perpetuates it because it's so over the top and so exaggerated that you go, there's not a man alive that's that stupid.
Mm-hmm. And then you come
also,
forward.
Marge isn't that intelligent.
Yeah, well,
like there. I mean, there are episodes.
Nobody in that show is particularly bright.
Exactly, but that's what kind of helps it is that it's not like such an extreme where like she's like actually a super street smart super genius.
And then you have the neighbors directly next door, which are kind of the that core suburban type family, and
Christian stereotypes.
Indeed. So you have these stereotypes of everybody in the family smart, everybody, and then they have their own weirdness that comes through because of their character quirks, being too nice, being too concerned, and being too, well, I'm not sure what word I want to use. Being too Christian sounds like a weird thing to say.
Well, maybe I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure what the word you're looking for would be. Like, you know.
Well, I will say vanilla. How's that? Why not? But you know, you fast forward to a show like Family Guy, and I feel like originally it was a more clever show than it is now. And Family Guy used to be something that was a little more funny, a little more clever, and now it's over the top, it's non sequiturs, and that's why it's supposed to be funny. There's no plot, there's no lesson that anybody learns, and not to say that Simpsons doesn't fall into that category, but it took a longer time to fall into that category.
Yeah, I'll give my example here in a second, but I'm gonna forget about this, so I'm gonna say it now. Jumping off what you're talking about, I think what's important is that to keep in mind, because I'm an optimist at heart. I don't want to panic about things. When I see things going a particular direction that I don't like, when we're talking entertainment, least common denominator, dumbing things down, I think it's important to remember that a lot of the time things like this are cyclical, kind of like the economy is, where people will get tired of a certain thing after a while, and they'll start, because we have a grass is always greener mentality. That's also somewhat of I think maybe a human condition thing, where right now what's in is like really dark and gritty and heavy, going into dramatic fiction, and people might start to miss light a little bit, so light will come back. You know what I mean? The 80s got super gritty and heavy, and so then the 90s we brought back kind of the family film to kind of combat that, but then so a lot of that was like way too sappy for people, and so we did other things to kind of resist that, and now it's all post-apocalyptic. At what point do we start like really trying to resist that? At what point do people go, I'm sick of the same joke over and over again, give me something that's like that is funny and intellectually challenging? And I think that, I mean, I'm not sure that people that are conditioned to love that kind of thing, and conditioned's a bad word because nothing against people that like that kind of thing, but I know people who like both. So I'm just saying that people who maybe grew up with only that, they're probably not going to think of things like I need something that challenges me. But maybe something will happen in their life where they'll read something or they'll see something, and it will it will make them think about things in a way they never have before, and all of a sudden their tastes are, even despite themselves, becoming more refined, and they go, oh wow, that's so one note. It's not funny anymore. I need something crisper. I need something clever. I need something more punchy and kind of new. And so I'm just saying that I think that when things do seem to be going in what we might think of as a bad direction, I don't think it's always
like One Direction.
It was good at it. and has been progressively getting worse until it becomes the worst thing it could ever possibly be. I don't think it works like that.
Right. I'm with you, because, you know, there are comedies, staying on the comedy thing for a second, there are I don't like the screwball comedies from the 60s. It's not my thing. But not to say that there's nothing in the 60s that I don't like. I like a lot of the music. I like a lot of the action movies, the westerns and things that came out of the 60s. But then the comedies I just couldn't stand. And then you move forward and...
and you're wrong, because I love I, G, Virginia, but go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking specifically of movies, things like...
Oh, I'm sorry, I think you meant like sitcoms, because I think there's a lot of really good 60s sitcoms. But
it's a Mad, 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 Bad World. I think that was the 60s, wasn't it? Or maybe that was the 70s.
I don't remember. I've never seen it.
There's a period of comedies that's really not my thing. And then you go before that and you find things from the 50s that I think is funny. And then there's things in the 80s that I think are funny. But the trouble is that there are taste ranges. And I feel like right now I'm in a particular period of time that it's just not to my taste. Bridesmaids is too gross. And nobody is a likable enough character or a character I can sympathize with. So it's not a funny movie to me, but that seems to be one of the movies that people freaked out about. They're in this range. So here and here. But what was your example that you wanted to use?
Oh, well, for me it's video games. Vince, I feel like everybody kind of has to look at themselves and like you know, as objectively as possible, as critically as you can, and say, do I love the thing from when I was a kid because it was great? And do I think that it was better than what we have now because it really was, or because of the feelings I have associated with it? And for some things, I think it's really, really hard to draw the line. And for me, that is video games, because I think that there are great video games now, but they're not my cup of tea, and a lot of them, and why is that? You know what I mean? I think that by and large, video games these days do seem to be more about like experiencing a longer and more involved movie that you're kind of in the middle of than they are about the challenge of like platforming or whatever. And the thing is, I was a platforming guy, so or just the challenge of whatever it is that you're supposed to do in the game. You know what I mean? And like games a lot of the time now, I think, work too hard to get you to the end because it's about seeing everything more than it is about the game. Like the word sometimes seems to be the wrong word now. You know, because what is a game? It's a thing with a goal. And so why would the game itself be helping you out so hard to get there? It should be you should feel accomplished when you get there. And so but at the same time, I can understand people that say, well, like I've mastered those games from when I was a kid, and they don't do anything for me anymore, and we're not making enough of them, so I'm into this other kind of thing, and it's just they're different things. So, like, do I really think that the platformers in the 8-16-bit era are better than games now, or is it what I grew up with and I played it so much and I continue to play it so much now that I simply can't get into the other thing? Is this the same reason that some folks who are in their 30s now before they finally try reading a comic book are probably not going to get into comic books? Like you know what exactly is it? I just think this is a really hard topic. You know, like the question is very, very complex. Like the why depends on who you're talking to and what the situation is. You know, like I might miss. I'll go for something a little bit more simple. I might miss cassette tapes and VHS tapes because of the feelings associated with them, because it reminds me of other things. There are memories attached, there are smells and sights and things attached to all of that. But do I wish that we'd never gone to DVD? No. You see what I'm saying? There are things I miss. This is going to sound weird. There are things I miss about not having the internet at all because we relied on other things, and I felt like I do have a little bit of that whole life was simpler vibe. The whole not being plugged in all the time. I felt like I lived in a slightly more like socially like social world where people were better at speaking to each other face to face and things like that. But there's a trade-off. Do I wish we'd never had the internet? Well, no, of course not.
It's kind of I can't say that on the show. It's a trade-off. We'll say that. They say, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Yeah, precisely, yeah.
But I do think, we're coming up on time, aren't we?
Yeah.
I do think that there is the idea that you have, that things in the past are discernibly better. There are some things that are discernibly better. But I think people often compare that to things that are coming out modern day that is just schlock. There are things that are going to come out modern day that are good.
I think importantly, as I said earlier, people like to be ignorant. It makes it easier to have that perception where they won't look into the current things, and then they with the little bit that they know.
So it's almost like they're validating their own preference of their particular preferred era.
Yeah, and it's private. The other day, I wrote something on Facebook. I said that. Let me see if I can remember how I worded this. I could just bring it up, I guess, but I don't have my phone. I wrote something along the lines of it feels to me sometimes like time is like a place that I can never get back to, and that I'm on a train moving away from it perpetually for the rest of my life and can never get back to it. That's what time is. Time for me is sometimes like times I miss. It's like a place that you can't that you can't go back to. I think of time like a place. And I think that a lot of the reason that that people talk about, and some of it's just lack of communication skills. Some of it is just people don't know how to say what they're really thinking. And so they say the thing that is simpler, and they say the thing that they have heard before. And so the easy thing to say is it's better now. What you really mean is you wish you could turn the train around. Maybe not get away from now and live in the past forever. I think a lot of people will recognize that there are things in their life that they love about now. But you wish you had a time machine. You wish you could go back and forth.
Best of both worlds, the grass is always greener, and they didn't make them like they used to. Cliche, the podcast.
That's it, exactly. But Vince, I have a lot of things like that. I mean, like I am very nostalgic. There are a lot of things that there are a lot of things I wish I could re-experience, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate a lot of things now, because the thing I recognize is that 10 years from now, I'm going to look back at now and have the same thing.
So what you want to be something. Is the time traveler.
Yeah, exactly.
From About Time, that's what you want to be.
Or any time traveler would do. But yes, I feel limited by human experience because time feels like a place. And so I sympathize greatly with people who feel like this, but I also feel like you're missing something. You're losing something about the experience of this very fleeting thing we call life, right? If you don't find those things now that are awesome that you'll look back on later and miss, I think that's important.
I suppose live in the now. There's another cliche.
But I don't mean that. I guess I mean do both. Well, because here's the thing. Live in the now versus, and then we'll get to rants. Living in the now, you just feel like you got to do both. Or all three things. You have to look toward the future. This is what I think. You have to look toward the future. You have to live sort of in the now, but you also have to not ignore the past, appreciate the past, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with people enjoying the things that they used to enjoy. When I hear people say, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't play 8-bit Mario anymore," that's outdated. Is chess?
Do you like Buffy? Yeah, back in the 90s.
Yeah, is chess outdated? I mean, like things that work for you. And I say for you because everybody has different experiences, and that brings us all to different places. So if for you Mario's too outdated, if you see it as too primitive or whatever, maybe you see it that way because you had a different experience with it than I did. But I think it holds up, so I'm going to play it some more. And
I think 2D platformers are not a dying art form, but a rare art form, and I wish they'd bring it back more.
Well, it's a lot of indie people are making them, and that's what's really keeping it alive. But I just feel like just because you enjoy you continue to enjoy some of the same things that you used to doesn't mean you're living in the past.
Yeah, because some of those are discernibly good.
Vince, let's go on rants. What is your rant for the week, sir?
My rant for
What would you like to complain about?
I have a little bit of a language rant. And
My very favorite kind, do tell.
I'm not sure I'm 100% correct about this, but it's something that's driving me nuts. The overuse of the words have and had and have been and have got, and it drives me nuts. Now, have got's not necessarily a problem, but because it adds emphasis. I have got to go do this, and then whatever. But if you add emphasis to everything you say, then there's no emphasis.
It's like swearing all the time.
Yeah, you're just saying it wrong. I've been watching a few shows lately, and every episode somebody says it 1 or 2 or 3 times, and I say, well, why?
Ooh, what? Could you tell me what show it is?
Well, Deep Space Nine. They say I have got to a lot. In the first season, they do.
Wow. Well, I told you first season writing isn't as good. That is rookie writing mistake stuff.
Yeah, and that's the same thing as using the words just and well, but that's a spacer thing.
By the way, I think I'm going to make you do some shows on DS9 with me.
Fair enough. I enjoy it. I think it's cool. But it drives me nuts. And it's been doing this in a lot of comic books lately, have got to, that I've been reading. And one of the things that's driving me nuts is I've been reading some prose lately, and I don't expect anything from like movie adaptations to be great, but I've been reading a lot of stuff lately where it says have had or had had, and I said, well, you're writing this in past tense. Just choose a better word.
Just go with simple past. Or why do you need that construction?
And like I understand if you're talking about a pastime that is still going on and you want to use had or have, I get that. This happened is still happening, and that have or that had really makes that distinct.
As I always say with writing, though, the important thing is whether or not you can tell that a person is doing it on purpose or not. And what you're looking at with a thing like that, I think more often than not, if you're seeing it that often, especially in the same thing, a lot of the time what's probably going on there is that somebody thinks that somehow it's heightened language. They think that that's how you make it sound more formal. And the thing is, there is a reason to use that construction, and more often than not, you don't need it. So, again, like you said, if you're using it for emphasis, okay. But if you're just trying to look smart, you're looking stupid by looking smart. Don't do that.
That is case in point. Thanks for saying that for Fred Van Lente's Conan the Avenger, because it has that in spades all over it. Have had. And then I read that and I say,
Brian Regan. I'd
like to concede the rest of my time to my opponent.
I'd like to concede the rest of my time to my opponent in the interest of fairness, please.
But it's something that drives me nuts. You don't have to do that. First of all, when you're doing it to seem smarter, you don't seem smarter. And use the voice that you should use. And I don't mean like use your ability to be omnipresent and figure out what I need to do here because I'm God. But I mean, use the voice that you are capable and comfortable using.
Yeah.
For particularly your narration balloons.
Conversational language.
Yeah.
Is the thing. Would you say it like that in real life? And when you have people been like, what?
And in prose particularly, I feel like sometimes it's lazy writing, but almost more lazy editing. Because I feel like if you're going to get this book and somebody's going to read it over and say, yeah, that looks good, and you saw the word had twice in a row, then you didn't circle it and say, figure out a better way to say that sentence, it just drives me nuts. He had to do it. He had. I had your had, you had. And,
I haven't thought about this in a while, Vince, but I think I'm gonna do what I do sometimes when we have conversations. I'm gonna say a thing and then I'm gonna decide if I'm right about it. But I think a lot of the time the point of that construction is to give quick exposition in order to inform a scene. For instance, if you're writing a story and it's in the past tense, and you're saying, I went to the store and I bought some grapes, the appropriate place to put had would be in something like, I had just gone to the post office and then I was at the store.
Yeah.
So like in scene, we are getting step by step what you're doing right now, but we don't need everything about the post office. It's a show versus telling things. So you're using the simple past when you're when you're giving us the in scene. These are the things that were happening. That's not exposition. I want to say had is better used for a and more appropriately used for a more expository thing of this had just happened, and now that you know that, I can tell you what is happening in the present. But it's not actually present. It's we're telling it in past tense. You know what I mean? So
it's the past within a story told in the past tense.
Exactly.
Or it's something that was about to happen.
Yes,
but
it's
did
the
not.
It's the past of the past. So it's like okay, present. The present in a story is whatever's happening right now. But if you're telling it in past tense, it means that it happened. And this is a thing you have to worry about in fiction that you have to worry about like on television, because unless you have a speaker that's like telling the story, it's happening right now. But most of the time we don't write in present tense, because that you only do that when you want immediate, sense of immediacy. So anyway, yeah, I think the problem is whoever you're reading doesn't get that.
Yeah. And, well, it's the novelization of the Punisher movie, which is surprisingly not terrible. It's just they had.
Why are you reading that?
I went to a wedding over the weekend, and I wanted something that I could take with me that I wouldn't be, like, crying if I lost, like, my Kindle or something. So, something that was easy to shove into a coat pocket and take with me. Yeah, I'm going to be over here.
That's hilarious, Vince.
That's me. I didn't read it at the wedding. I'm not a jerk. I left it in the car.
This wedding is so dull. I'm going to read the Punisher novelization.
But I did read it in the hotel room and on the way to places and yada yada. So
was it the kind of novelization that is like third person omniscient all the way, and you just jump into everybody's heads annoyingly?
Yes.
Oh God, I hate that.
But
I am crushed, and I'll do a video about this when I get done with it again, but I am crushed going back and rereading the Death of Superman novelization, because it does that, and that was one of my favorite books when I was a kid. And sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes I wish I didn't know things, because now I'm reading this and I'm going, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm in everybody's heads and nobody's heads all at the same time, and I'm just like jumping around.
The thing
I hate that man, just like okay, you make a scene and then you give me the not necessarily the protagonist, but like the central character for that scene,
The thing that I thought was interesting about it was when I was reading, I went, "Oh, that's a mistake," and then I carried on, and I started noticing that it happens in sections. So you'll have this scene is from this character's perspective. This scene is from this character's perspective, and well,
that's better than what Death of Superman does, where it jumps within scenes.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's bad. Because it's just it's like oh, I'm gonna try to make it look like a comic book or look like a movie. I'm like, no, you're adapting it to a different medium. So use the medium. Man, I hate that. It makes me sad.
Indeed. So there's like 3 rants altogether.
The prose isn't bad. The writing's good, but it's fair, but that is annoying. Anyway, whatever. So real quick, this is less of a rant and more of just a really? Did I see this happen? Really? I sometimes wonder if Hulu and other streaming sites that make you watch commercials, although this could be a different rant, I don't feel like I should have to sit through commercials if I'm paying for Hulu. Let me just say that real quick. That's a thing. I'm like, no, I'm already giving you money. Why do I also have to sit through commercials? It's just like cable, and the commercials are almost as long. So it's like I don't understand what's in it for me. I don't understand. Anyway, so but like sometimes you'll get, and I think this is because of how like the selector bots work, or whatever you call them, how like where you have, I'm sure you have like certain algorithms where certain commercials play in order to be connected to whatever the show is, to make it relevant to what show you're watching. So every time I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of the Sam Jackson Quicksilver commercials comes up. Okay, so, and stuff like that. It seems like a lot of the time when I watch superhero shows, something with a superhero actor will pop up. I'm sure that's not coincidental. Okay, So, but I bet this is, and if this is not coincidental, if somehow this happened because of the algorithms, I think people should be more conscious of this. I'm watching Gotham last week on Hulu, and the episode of Gotham was about children. It was about child trafficking. And it was about kids with no homes on the streets and being unfortunately picked up by people working for the doll maker, and we don't see him yet, and who knows what's happening with that. But they don't have good foster care, and all the city can think of to do with them is just put them in juvenile detention, right? And so it's all about there's nowhere for these kids to go. During the show, I see a commercial for a program that the Wendy's restaurant chain is doing in order to find homes for children. And Wendy Thomas, nothing against Wendy Thomas, but she's in this commercial, and something about the look on her face I found uber creepy, and I think it was just because I was watching Gotham, and there was this older lady who was pretending to be a child services lady, but picking up these kids and doing horrible things to them, so she's like, help us take care of these homeless children. And it's like during Gotham, and I found it incredibly creepy. Like, it would sort of make sense to put that commercial there, where it's almost like it would almost be like a public service announcement sort of thing, where it's like Gotham on a very special episode of Gotham. It's about kids on the street. So let's remind you to give money to that. But something about that commercial I found really creepy.
I do feel like child trafficking's a bad thing, because children should not be allowed to drive until at least get to a certain age.
That's not funny, Vince.
Yeah, no.
That's not what that word means.
What?
That's not what that word means.
Oh, what word? Child?
Do you think that when you drive to my house you can be like, I'm trafficking? No.
Yes. I traffic all over the place.
Well, then do me a favor and don't bring your contraband into my house, yes? Anyway, so I know that was kind of an odd rant, and I don't know that anybody else had that, but I was watching that going, I don't know if this was on purpose or not.
Speaking of commercials, I get annoyed when I see the same commercial like 6 times in a row when I'm watching something that's streaming. That drives me nuts. I care that much about Tide. If I didn't get it the first time, I'm not going to get it the 6th time.
We're like the only commercial that ever pops up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
they like jumble 2 of them together.
Have you seen the one with it's like a home insurance commercial with the woman standing on a roof with the bullhorn?
No.
Okay, every time it must just be the difference between what we're watching, because
I watch Netflix.
Oh, well, me too, but Netflix doesn't have commercials.
Right, I don't have Hulu.
Oh, okay. But you mentioned streaming.
I occasionally watch streaming, but it seems like with my internet connection, it's weird because it'll make me watch the same commercial over and over.
I'd love to hear from
restream
people who watch Hulu. Have you guys had to watch that commercial with the woman on the roof 50 times? Because for a while there, that's all that came up, and it was really driving me insane.
When I see that, I always wonder, how much money did that company give Hulu to
seriously? Because or if it's just again like because of is it just because of what I'm watching that for some reason that's what comes up based on like the analytics or whatever? But man, it's just like every time I turn on a show, or every time I turn on a show there for a while up until just a couple weeks ago, it's like all I ever heard was, does anyone know of a trustworthy roofer? And I was just like, God, stop it. Anyway,
I know a roofer that'll throw stuff down in your living room.
I'm desperate for a roofer. God, stop it. Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. We will see you again next week on Geeks Not Nerds. If there's something you'd like to hear us talk about in a future video, leave us topic suggestions, and we will take a look at them and consider them. And if you want to make sure that I see one, you can of course put it in the comments. I try to check all the comments. But if you want to make sure that I see a suggestion, send it to the contact page on Geekvolution.com, and to let us know what you thought about our conversation and how you feel about the whole nostalgia thing. I mean, we've done shows on nostalgia before, but this is specifically, I think, is a really interesting thing, and we kind of just jumped all around it because I think it's an incredibly complex and involved kind of topic. But like, do you have this? And also, do you think that things are better now than they used to be on the whole?
Or do you
as
think
far
that
as
things
pop
were
culture
better
goes?
then?
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Do you think that things used to be better? Do you have that kind of mentality of the good old days? Leave your comments, let us know what you think, and we sure appreciate you. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you that you have got to support your local comic book store.
You have got to. Thanks for watching.